Hello family, enjoy this relaxing moment with AfriTales 38. Remember to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comment section and generously hit the like button because it means a lot to us. Please relax and enjoy as we dive in the story. The man with everything but nothing. Edwin Okoro sat on the edge of his king-size bed, staring at the glowing city skyline from his bedroom window. Lagos shimmered like a jewel in the night, cars honking, neon lights blinking, and a cool breeze filtering through the tinted glass. Yet none of it brought him peace. He had just returned from an international business conference in Dubai, where he was awarded Entrepreneur of the Year. Reporters praised him. Businessmen admired him. Bankers begged for his patronage. But back home, in the mansion he had spent over 80 million naira to build, Edwin felt like a stranger. He removed his Italian shoes, slowly loosened his tie, and dropped his briefcase beside the bed. The house was quiet, too quiet. Linda, his wife of 24 years, was downstairs watching her favorite reality TV show. She hadn't even come out to welcome him after his 3-day trip. Not even a text to ask if he had landed safely. He walked down the marble stairs to the living room. Linda was sprawled on the couch, her long nails painted blood red, sipping juice from a wine glass, legs crossed elegantly. "I'm back," Edwin said, standing nearby. She barely turned her head. "Hope the trip was fine. Did you buy the Gucci bag I asked for?" That was it. No hug. No welcome back. No, I missed you. Just the bag. He sighed, forced a smile, and nodded. "It's in the car. I also brought some chocolate for Sandra." At the mention of her name, their 22-year-old daughter rushed downstairs like a thunderbolt. "Daddy. You got me chocolate," she shrieked. "And my iPhone. Did you buy the iPhone 15 Pro Max?" "Yes," Edwin said, handing her a sleek box. "But Sandra, you never called me while I was away." "Daddy, I was busy. My influencer account is growing. I even gained 2,000 followers this week. You need to see my new TikTok video." Edwin chuckled weakly. His heart ached. These weren't conversations of a close-knit family. These were business transactions wrapped in family skin. Only David, his younger son, made an effort. At 19, David was studying civil engineering in university. He didn't ask for much. No designer shoes. No flashy gadgets. Instead, he would call every evening. "How's the trip, Dad? Are you eating well? Don't forget to rest." That night, David video called just as Edwin lay in bed. "Dad, you're back already?" "Yes, son. Just got in. I've been checking flight status online. Wanted to be sure you landed safely." Edwin smiled. "You're a rare one, David. You sound tired, Dad. You okay?" Edwin hesitated. "I'm fine. Just thinking." "About what?" Edwin paused. "About what matters in life. Do you think, if I lost everything today, our family would remain the same?" David's face grew serious. "You're not planning anything dangerous, are you?" "No," Edwin laughed softly. "Just thinking aloud." After the call, Edwin walked to the balcony. He remembered how he started out, selling spare parts in ABA, working odd jobs, saving every kobo. When he finally hit it big, he promised himself he'd build a family based on love and unity. But now, it seemed like everything had changed. He thought about Linda, how she once made his favorite yam porridge and sang to him in the kitchen. That Linda was long gone, replaced by someone who only valued money and prestige. He thought about Sandra, how she used to hug him when he returned from work. Now, she only hugged iPhones and likes on Instagram. He thought about David, and how the boy still saw him as more than a wallet. That night, Edwin tossed and turned. Sleep avoided him. By 4 a.m., he sat at his home office desk and scribbled a simple plan. Test them. Strip everything away. See who stays. He knew it would be drastic. He'd have to sell the illusion, make it real. He called his lawyer the next day. I want you to freeze my accounts, just temporarily. Don't tell anyone. I move a few millions to a hidden account. I want everyone to believe I'm broke. The lawyer was shocked. Sir, are you sure? I've never been more sure. By the end of the week, Edwin informed his company board that he was stepping away due to financial issues. Rumors flew. Some employees panicked. Some business partners pulled out. The Okoro name lost its shine. At home, the storm was just beginning. The fall that wasn't real. It was a sunny Saturday morning when Edwin gathered his family in the living room. The air conditioner hummed softly, but the tension in the room made everything feel hot. Linda sat with her arms folded, freshly manicured nails tapping against her wine glass. Sandra looked annoyed, scrolling on her phone. David, already sensing something serious, sat upright, ready to listen. I have something to tell you, Edwin said. Better be quick, Sandra mumbled. I have a video shoot in an hour. It's about our finances, Edwin continued, ignoring the sarcasm. We're in trouble. Linda looked up. What kind of trouble? Edwin inhaled deeply. My business partners made some terrible decisions. I tried to salvage what I could, but everything's gone. The companies, the investments, our savings. I've lost it all. Sandra dropped her phone. Linda stood up. What do you mean everything? We are bankrupt, Edwin said calmly. We'll have to sell this house and move to the village for a while, just until I can figure things out. You're joking, right? Linda's voice was sharp. This is one of your pranks, ABI. Tell me you're joking. I wish I was, he replied softly. There was a long silence. You let this happen, she snapped. How could you be so careless? All these years of comfort, and you just threw it away like that. I didn't throw anything away, Edwin said. I was betrayed. But that's not the point right now. We need to adjust. Adjust how? Sandra backed. There's no Wi-Fi in the village. No spa. No clubs. What am I supposed to do? Marry a farmer. David finally spoke. It's just for a while, right, Dad? Until things settle. Edwin nodded. Yes. I'll still try to recover, but we need to survive for now. Linda looked disgusted. I knew this was too good to last. So now I'll go from being a high society woman to pounding yam in a clay kitchen. Sandra threw her head back and groaned. My followers will finish me if they find out. I can't go there. I'll just stay with my friend Tammy. No, Edwin said firmly. We stayed together. We started together, we survived together. Linda stormed upstairs. You're on your own, Edwin. David looked at his father and saw pain behind his eyes. Yet the man stood strong, holding back the storm inside. That night, Edwin lay awake again. He heard Linda crying quietly in the guest room. He wasn't sure if she was mourning the loss of wealth or the shift in power. Sandra didn't come out for dinner. David helped him pack boxes and carry things into storage. The next morning, they sold the luxury cars, save for one beat-up sedan Edwin kept hidden for emergencies. Furniture dealers came to collect expensive Italian pieces. The maids left when they heard there was no more salary. The mansion, once lively, now echoed with silence. On Monday, they boarded a bus to Umokoro village. Edwin wanted them to feel the shift completely, no drivers, no escorts. Just regular life. Sandra wore a hoodie and dark glasses, avoiding eye contact. Linda refused to carry her handbag, making David hold it. Edwin stayed quiet, lost in thought. After 6 hours on bumpy roads, they arrived. The house they moved into was the same one Edwin's father left behind, 2 rooms, zinc roof, no electricity. The compound was dusty, with a crooked fence and a wooden bench under a mango tree. Sandra gasped. We are supposed to live here. Linda refused to enter. This is not even a house. This is punishment. This is all we can afford, Edwin said. Let's make the best of it. Inside, the house was bare. Just 2 wooden beds, some mats, and a broken ceiling fan. The toilet was outside, a pit latrine shared with the neighboring compound. Later that evening, villagers came to greet them. Mama Ebo, a warm elderly woman, brought okra soup. Mr. Emeka, the village carpenter, offered to help fix the leaking roof. Edwin thanked them. David greeted everyone warmly and even helped carry firewood. But Linda turned her face away. Don't these people know we're not on their level? Sandra whispered, they'll probably steal our bags. Days passed. Every morning, Edwin and David woke early to clear the bush and prepare for farming. David dug the soil while Edwin planted cassava. Sweat ran down their backs, but they found a rhythm. There was peace in labor. Meanwhile, Linda slept late and complained when there was no chilled water. She refused to cook and hated using charcoal stoves. Sandra would sit under a tree, pressing her dead phone and mumbling curses. One afternoon, David returned with blisters on his hands. Linda saw them and scoffed. This is what you're teaching your son now? To suffer. David didn't reply. He quietly washed his hands and helped Edwin prepare dinner. That evening, as they ate roasted corn under the moonlight, Edwin smiled at David. You're stronger than I ever was at your age. David chuckled. You're the one who made me strong, Dad. They shared laughter, while inside the house, Linda sobbed, and Sandra wept over a lost phone charger. The cracks in the family bond had begun to widen, but something beautiful was growing between father and son, a silent, powerful loyalty that no riches could buy. The village life begins. The morning after their arrival in Umuokoro village, Edwin woke up to the sound of crowing roosters and goats bleating in the compound. The air was thick with the smell of smoke from neighbors' firewood stoves, and the cries of babies mixed with the early chatter of market women passing by. He stretched, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and looked over to the other wooden bed in the room. David was already up, tying his wrapper, ready to fetch water from the stream. You're up early, Edwin said. David smiled. If I wake late, there'll be a long queue at the stream. Edwin nodded. Be careful. Always. Outside, the village was waking up. Women balanced buckets on their heads, children ran barefoot, and radios blared old high life songs. But inside the small house, it was a different world. Sandra was sitting on a stool with her head down, covered in a scarf. Her eyes were puffy, she had cried all night. This is a nightmare, she whispered. A living nightmare. Linda emerged from the room wrapped in a bedsheet, her face twisted in disgust. There's no mirror in this house. Not even a dressing table. How am I supposed to function like this? Edwin came out and greeted them. Good morning. No, it's not a good morning, Linda snapped. There's no sugar for tea. The toilet outside is an animal pit. This is beneath me, Edwin. We're all adjusting, Edwin replied. Try to be patient. Patient, she scoffed. I didn't sign up for poverty. Ignoring her, Edwin began to sweep the compound with a local broom. An elderly woman walked past and smiled. Good morning, Sir Edwin. He smiled back. Good morning, Mama Ebo. You're adapting well, oh, she said. Not every city man can touch broom. Edwin laughed. Hardship teaches humility, Mama. Back at the stream, David waited his turn as village girls filled their buckets. They whispered and giggled when they saw him. He was tall, fair-skinned, and carried himself with calmness and confidence. That's the rich man's son, one of the girls whispered. The one who moved into Papa Okoro's house. Is he single? Another asked. David ignored them, filled his bucket, and walked back home, his hands steady despite the weight. Over the next few days, Edwin and David began clearing a portion of land nearby to farm cassava and okra. It was hard work, sweaty, back-breaking labor under the scorching sun. But there was beauty in it too. They laughed. They sang. They bonded. One evening, As they sat on a log chewing boiled corn, Edwin asked, "Do you miss the mansion?" David shrugged. "A little. But I like it here. I feel free." "Free?" "Yes," David replied. "There, everything was fake. Here, life is hard, but real." Edwin looked at him, amazed by the wisdom in his son's words. Meanwhile, inside the house, Linda was breaking down. She refused to cook. "I will not cook with firewood like a bush girl," she said. So, Sandra tried to cook noodles one morning. She placed a pot on the 3-stone fire, but smoke got into her eyes. She screamed and kicked the pot away. "I can't live like this," she yelled. "Daddy, do something." "I am doing something," Edwin said. "I am surviving." "But why are you dragging us through this?" Sandra asked. "What did we do to deserve this suffering?" "Sometimes," Edwin said, "we must lose comfort to discover our character." Sandra rolled her eyes. "That sounds like a proverb from a poor man's diary." Later that week, a group of village youths came to play football in the evening. David joined them and surprised everyone with his skills. After the match, they clapped for him and lifted him on their shoulders. "City boy Wesobi," they cheered. That evening, some villagers gathered under the mango tree outside Edwin's house. They brought palm wine, groundnuts, and laughter. They told folk tales and sang songs. Edwin and David joined them. Linda watched from the window, arms folded. "See him laughing with peasants. They're happier than people in Lekki," David said, entering the room. "You're becoming one of them," she sneered. "A villager. Maybe it's not such a bad thing," David replied. "They care more than most rich people." One afternoon, a church woman visited. "Good afternoon, Sister Linda," she said with a warm smile. "We came to invite you to our women's fellowship meeting on Friday." Linda looked at her like she had insulted her. "Me? Join what?" "Please, I'm not in the mood for local drama." The woman smiled gently. "Sometimes, peace is found where pride doesn't go." After she left, Linda threw her scarf on the floor. "This is an insult. I'm a Lagos woman, not a market woman." Edwin came in with muddy boots. "We are all humans, Linda. Nobody here is less than you." "Easy for you to say. You chose this mess." He looked at her. "No, the mess chose us. But we can choose how we respond." But Linda wasn't listening. She had already turned her back. That night, Edwin sat under the stars with David. "I don't know how long I can keep pretending," he said. David turned to him. "Pretending?" Edwin shook his head. "Nothing, son. Just thinking aloud." David studied his father. "I know we've lost a lot. But I think we've gained something too." "What's that?" "Truth." Edwin smiled faintly and looked up at the stars. "Then it's worth it." Cracks in the mask. 2 months had passed since the Okoro family settled in Umuokoro village, but not everyone was settling in peacefully. Linda was beginning to break. Gone were the days of indoor air conditioning, spa visits, and wine tastings. Now, every morning greeted her with smoky air from neighbors cooking fires, crowing roosters, and muddy water that made her skin itch. She had refused to adapt, refused to even touch firewood, let alone cook a meal. Her nails were chipped, her skin had lost its glow, and the fine clothes she had brought now hung loosely on her frame. But her pride remained. One day, she dressed up more than usual, wrapped her waist with a freshly ironed ankara, applied makeup using her small handheld mirror, and spritzed perfume she had saved for months. Edwin noticed as she tied her scarf unusually tight and carried her handbag like she was attending a Lagos party. "Where are you going?" he asked gently. She didn't meet his eyes. "To the market." "A woman can't just sit in this place like a log of wood." Edwin nodded. "Be careful." David, however, sensed something strange. Linda never volunteered to go to the village market, not even to buy pepper. She usually sent a child with money or just grumbled and cooked plain food when she had no choice. He waited 10 minutes after she left and decided to follow her at a distance. Hidden among the trees by the footpath, David saw her walk past the market, past the church, and into a fenced compound near the cocoa plantations. She looked around cautiously before knocking. The gate opened, and there he was. Chief Boma. The richest man in the village. A pot-bellied cocoa trader in his early 50s, widowed twice, and known for taking care of lonely village women. He wore a wrapper and white singlet, with beads around his neck and a smirk that made David's stomach turn. Linda stepped inside, laughing. Chief Boma welcomed her with open arms and offered her a drink. David's heart sank. He turned away quickly and walked back home, struggling to hold in his rage. That night, Linda returned humming a tune. Her face glowed with satisfaction, her lips freshly glossed. Edwin noticed but said nothing. Inside the room, David confronted his father quietly. "She's cheating on you?" Edwin looked at him without flinching. "I know." You know?" Edwin nodded. "I've suspected for weeks. I saw the signs. I just didn't want to admit it." David clenched his fist. "Say something to her. Stop her." "No, son," Edwin said calmly. "Let her continue. Let her reveal her heart completely. This is not just about love. It's about truth." David sat in silence, the weight of the betrayal settling in. Meanwhile, Sandra had been growing more distant. Though she hated village life, she had found a new way to survive, one that worried Edwin deeply. Her phone, long dead, was suddenly active again. She was using mobile data and had begun wearing jewelry and stylish clothes again. One day, Edwin overheard her whispering on the phone. "Babe, I can sneak out tomorrow. Just send the bike man to wait by the junction." No, Daddy won't suspect anything." "Yes, I still have the lace gown you bought." Later that day, she left, claiming she was visiting a prayer group. Curious, Edwin followed, just far enough not to be noticed. What he saw broke him. Sandra climbed onto a waiting bike that drove her out of the village to a lodge near a nearby town. There, she met a much older man, well-dressed, gold watch shining on his wrist. They kissed openly, and he handed her an envelope before they disappeared into a guest room. Edwin turned away, his eyes misty. That night, he waited for Sandra to return. When she stepped in, he asked softly, "Where are you coming from?" "Prayer meeting," she said casually, removing her earrings. "You're lying." Sandra paused. "Excuse me. I followed you." She dropped her bag slowly, her face turning pale. You what?" "I saw everything. The lodge. The man. The envelope." Sandra blinked rapidly, caught off guard. "Daddy, I needed money. I couldn't take this village life anymore." "So you sell yourself for comfort?" She snapped. "What do you want from me? Starve like you and David? Be poor and proud?" "No thank you." Edwin said nothing. He walked into the backyard and sat alone, staring at the moon. It reminded him of when Sandra was a little girl who used to sit on his lap and ask him to tell her stories about the stars. What had happened to his family? The next morning, Edwin called both Linda and Sandra to the living room. David stood beside him. "I want to talk to both of you," Edwin began. Linda looked annoyed. "Hope this won't take long. I have somewhere to be." "I know," Edwin said. "I know where you go. And I know who you go to." Her eyes widened. Sandra looked down. "You both have made your choices. You abandoned me when I had nothing. You betrayed the vows we once shared. You've traded family for convenience. Love for lust. Honor for disgrace." Linda tried to laugh. "What do you expect me to do? Live like a dog? I'm not you, Edwin. I like good things." Sandra added coldly, "And I'm not David. I won't die on a farm." David stepped forward. We all lost something when we came here. But I found something too, something worth more than wealth, integrity. Linda grabbed her bag. Integrity won't pay my bills. Sandra followed her. We'll see how long you both enjoy this suffering. They both left the room. Edwin sat down slowly. I think we've seen enough, David. David nodded. Yes, we have. That night, while the village slept, a storm brewed, not just in the sky, but in Edwin's heart. But instead of rage, he felt peace. The masks were finally off. The truth was painful, but it was real. And sometimes, the truth is the only thing that can save a soul. A father's pain. 4 days after the confrontation, the house was quiet, but not peaceful. A thick silence hovered in the air, heavier than any storm cloud. It wrapped around Edwin's chest like a rope. He moved through the room slowly, like a man in mourning. Linda avoided him entirely. She kept to her room, sometimes sneaking out in the afternoons, returning only after dark, her perfume announcing her arrival before her footsteps. Sandra, meanwhile, stayed outside more than inside, sitting under trees or heading to the nearby town. Edwin stopped asking questions. He already knew the answers. One morning, Edwin sat on the wooden stool outside the house, staring blankly at a cracked calabash used for fetching water. David came beside him with 2 peeled oranges. You haven't eaten, David said, offering one to him. Edwin took it, but didn't eat. He simply held the fruit and stared. Daddy, David said softly, I know you're hurting. I'm not sure that's the right word, Edwin whispered. It's like a part of me has died. David sat beside him. I keep thinking, Edwin continued, about all the years I spent building this family. Every late night, every deal I closed, every sacrifice. I did it so we could all be happy. You gave them everything, David said. Yes. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe I gave too much money, comfort, and not enough wisdom. David looked at his father. You gave what you knew how to give. Edwin turned to him. But I didn't teach them how to survive without luxury. I raised dependents, not partners. That's my failure. David was quiet. He had no argument. His father's pain was real and justified. Later that day, Edwin tried to cook egusi soup over the firewood stove. He accidentally spilled the palm oil and burned his hand. He hissed and sat down heavily on a stool, staring at the pot like it had betrayed him too. Linda walked past, chewing groundnuts, and laughed. You see? Suffering doesn't suit you. You should have let me stay with Chief Boma from the start. Edwin didn't respond. Sandra came out with earphones plugged in, dancing slightly. Daddy, do you have N3000? I need to buy mobile data. No, Edwin said firmly. Wow. So you can't even afford that now, she scoffed. You're officially useless. David stood up quickly. Enough, Sandra. He's still your father. Then he should act like one, she snapped, and walked away. Edwin closed his eyes, breathing slowly, deeply. That evening, a villager named Papa Chinidu came to visit. I heard your wife day worker with Chief Boma, he said after some small talk. Edwin nodded. I know. You go just leave him like that. I have nothing to prove, Edwin said. She has already made her choice. You be real man, Papa Chinidu said. But hard they pain me for you. Edwin smiled sadly. Thank you. The next few days were filled with quiet labor. Edwin and David went to the farm early, returned by noon, cleaned the compound, and helped children with homework when they could. The villagers admired them. One afternoon, a local teacher, Miss Ajoma, stopped by with her younger brother. David, she said, smiling shyly, you're good with numbers. Can you help my brother with his math? David agreed and began tutoring the boy every evening. The boy, Chuka, improved so quickly that other families began sending their children over too. Edwin watched this with a proud heart. You're becoming a pillar here, he said. I'm just trying to do what I can, David replied. No, Edwin said. You're becoming the man I always prayed for. One day, David found his father sitting under the mango tree, tears in his eyes. Dad, what's wrong? I went to the bush today to cut firewood, Edwin said, wiping his face. And I remembered something. What? Your mother and I, when we were still young, before the money, we once sat under a mango tree just like this and dreamt about the future. She held my hand and said, even if we never get rich, I'll stay with you forever. David sat beside him, silent. Now look, Edwin said. The money came, and so did the change. Not in the word, but in her heart. David didn't know what to say. He simply placed his hand over his father's, and they sat in silence, the wind rustling the mango leaves above them. Later that week, Edwin went to the village church alone. The pastor prayed with him, encouraged him. You're being refined in the fire, the pastor said. The people who remain with you through this fire, those are your gold. Edwin nodded. Then I found my gold in David. At home, things were worse with Linda. She had stopped hiding her activities. One day she came home with a new handbag. Where did you get that? Edwin asked. It's a gift, she said coldly. You wouldn't understand. That night, Edwin couldn't sleep. He walked to the backyard and looked at the stars. God, he whispered, was this all for nothing? The wind whispered back, but no words came. Suddenly, a soft voice behind him spoke. It wasn't for nothing. It was David. Edwin turned. You showed me what a man should be, David said. Even when everything crashed, you stood strong. You didn't fight her. You didn't curse. You didn't abandon us. You just kept going. Edwin swallowed hard. Sometimes, I don't even know how. That's strength, David said. Father and son stood in the quiet of the night, bound by a pain neither had asked for, but both had chosen to carry with honor.